always been interested in watching Dune. I just saw Dune Part 2 as of this video, and a friend of mine had urged me to watch Part 1. I had finally gotten around to watching Part 1 of Dune, and I was just completely thrown aback at how good the storytelling was in this. I made a video reviewing that, poking fun at it because it did have some issues or just things that I didn't understand that just were silly to me. But despite all my jest, I absolutely adored that movie. It was excellent. Part 2 was way better. If you could provide a scale and put these two movies on either side of the scale, the second part would send the first part flying off of the scale. And I'm talking about the tipping scales. It was that much better in terms of music, action, storytelling, acting, dialogue, the special effects, the atmosphere. Everything was top tier. It was such an amazing experience. So this is a very chill video. I am trying to be more chill with my videos, so you can enjoy some gameplay in the background. But I'm going to go into why I loved this movie. Why I love the franchise now, because now I'm a fan. Now I'm like, nah, I want to know more about this, especially the second movie. When Paul Atreides first came onto the scene, I didn't think much of him. He seemed kind of weak. He wasn't really someone I was expecting to be a hero, and I didn't know anything of the actor, so I was looking at it as, wow, they probably casted the worst person to play this hero type, and it just wasn't believable from him. He came off very weak, which I guess made sense because he'd been sheltered, but then he started proving himself. And by the end of the movie is when we see that come to fruition, but we don't really see it in full force until the second movie. And man, do I have a newfound respect for not only the actor, all the actors in this movie, but for the character that's portrayed as well, Paul, because he has such a heavy load on his shoulders to carry. And there's just so many moving parts of this movie, not just the world that's intriguing, the creatures, but also the many moving factors of the movie that makes it so intriguing and enthralling that I came away unable to stop talking about it. That's how good it was. So the first movie kind of sets up things, and then the second movie just feels like straight out of anime, which is, that's the only thing I can ever compare something to when I'm giving it the highest praise. Oh my god, was it amazing. Not only was it amazing because of the storytelling, but Paul, seeing the progression and the kind of, not really power creep, but story progression of power and fulfilling, it was just an odd payoff. And these people who believed in him, seeing people who don't believe in him, which is something that you see in the trope with anime all the time. You have this weak person, this usually a guy that nobody respects, and he ends up powering up or power creeping, and then all his friends are giving exposition behind the scenes, like, he's not the same guy he was. He's way more powerful. He should know that move. He did the move that someone hasn't done in 100 years and that nobody thought could be done. And that's kind of what was going on with this. And yes, from a certain lens, you could say that it's corny. But the thing is that they portray this so well that they make it believable. And then they have my guy, Buck Clevin. Oh my god. I didn't look up the actor. I haven't looked up anything because I came in fresh from watching the movie and I just wanted to give my honest opinion before going online and having anything taint it. But I'm sure this is Buck Clevin from this show that my husband made me watch called Masters of Air, which is really good too. And every time I see this actor, apparently he was in this movie about Elvis. I have to watch it as well. The range on this actor is crazy because I've only seen Buck, like, he's a really pretty person. And I've seen him in kind of reserved, chill, just very classy roles. And seeing him play as a demented villainous character, if I didn't know, like, with all the makeup, if I didn't see his facial structure and his lips, because that's the one thing that stood out to me about Buck, I keep calling him Buck, but that's what I know him as. I wouldn't have known it was him because he just feels like a completely different person. Man, did he play the villain excellently. I cannot believe how effortlessly he makes it look. This is an actor that clearly takes his roles very seriously. I mean, most of the actors in this do. Every actor, Zendaya, the main character who plays Paul, Timothy Charlemagne? I have to look that up. Isn't that a YouTuber? I don't know. I'll look it up later. I know, I'm so scatterbrained in this video. It's really difficult when for a movie to get you to care about the villain and actually kind of low-key root for him. Like, you're not rooting for him to win, but you're kind of like, man, this villain's kind of badass. The Baron was like, okay, the one brother, your big brother's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. So I need you, Drax is failing. I need you to go and take care of things. And then he's like, I got you, uncle. His brother wasn't doing the job, so he came in and just started tearing everything up. You can see the efficacy of his tyranny, and just his sociopathic nature is what makes him very intriguing, even as a villain. You want to know more about him, and it was weird. I just felt kind of sick and twisted. I'm like, damn, why does he have to be so cute though? Like, that's so conflicting. It's like when you're watching a woman and she's a psychopath, but you're like, she's so hot though, cute. While she's slicing people to bits, it's something's wrong with me. Anyway, the way they progress with this, there's a clear motive for Paul. I love how they are able to intertwine everything that is happening. His mom getting into power as the one who is basically the monkey paw, the one who's turning all the wheels. Him trying to make his own destiny and avoid the visions coming to pass, knowing that no matter what he does, it's going to come to pass regardless. His girlfriend, the love of his life, who is in love with him, as a strong woman standing by his side, but realizing that no matter what path he takes, it's going to end up in just ruin, and her people are at risk as well, but then he's also fighting for them with his own motive, so they're just kind of meshing together to fulfill something that they all want. He wants revenge, and because the people aren't his main motive, but he has become one of the people. He grew up with them now. He spent a lot of time with them. So they have become his people. But at the same time, he's basically a male Daenerys Targaryen. And Khal Drogo's army is the Freemen. And nobody had an issue with Daenerys setting people free in this land that she wasn't a part of, because I guess she was a woman, so it was excused. I'll get into why I'm mentioning that later. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed watching him rise to power, and it just felt like I was watching a sci-fi Game of Thrones type of ordeal, which I think this franchise came before Game of Thrones, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Some of the scenes, like when the worm comes out of the storm, oh my god, the CGI. Everything is just so well done. The story, like, it's really difficult for a person like me to become that much invested in the story to the point where I don't care about the creatures. I usually watch sci-fi stuff like this for the world building and for the creatures, but I actually cared more about the people in this, believe it or not. And they were able to show you all the different people that are a part of the spokes in the wheel, and you know each and every one of them and the part they play. And if you're actually watching the movie, you come away not feeling confused. At first, it might be a little slow taking off, but then you know who's who. The time jumps, which they don't let you know what the setting is, but the way that it's directed, it is so well done, transitioning through time and allowing us to feel the passage of time without making it jarring, if that makes sense. I like that. You could tell it's been a while. You don't have to know the exact amount of time, but you know, based on his relationship with Johnny, who's played by Zendaya, based on the actions that they're performing, which they foreshadow or they're talking about in the previous scenes, you know, okay, they're planning all this, so this is obviously much later or closer to when they were talking about this to set up everything. So you can tell, and you see Paul becoming more confident. I loved that. Seeing him be a badass and seeing his clothes flapping in the wind behind him, anime style, that was so amazing. Seeing him learn to ride the worm, struggling for a little bit, and then coming out on top. Every time he progressed, and you see him do something awesome, just like Daenerys Targaryen in Game of Thrones, and the music swells, you're like, oh my god. Like, there's something about that, about seeing that is just oddly satisfying for me. The other thing I loved about it is the femininity and masculinity. You don't really think about that in movies like this, but because the masculinity parts have been missing so much from movies that I've been watching and shows, my husband was teasing me about this, but I was just like, man, just watching him be all strong, and I was dubious. I thought they were gonna cuck him at some point, but they didn't. He actually came out on top. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna lead you guys out of here. You know, and he's taking all these responsibilities, even though he knows what's going to happen. He doesn't want any bloodshed. He doesn't want to hurt the people that he cares about, but you see him standing up and being powerful and assertive, and there's something about that that's just really attractive. It's the weirdest thing. Like, people look at that and they call it toxic. I don't. I look at that and I'm like, ooh, power. This guy's standing, he's speaking with his chest. I like that. I like that a lot. A lot of the people, or especially the women that say they don't like stuff like that, those are the same women that will moan and complain about toxic masculinity. And then they'll leave their boyfriends that are not like that to go cheat on them with men that are like that. It's really odd. And I've seen it with my own eyes. I've had friends like that in the past that have done stuff like that, you know, and then those dudes that they cheat on their boyfriends with that are the very thing that they claim they don't like, but they end up always rewarding with their behavior, end up ghosting them. I just found that really hilarious to me. But anyway, I like that. And then you have the balance of femininity as well with Zendaya and the mother. And the thing is, I'm only bringing this up after watching the movie because it was obvious to me, the masculinity part, because it's been missing from so many movies and shows nowadays. You don't usually see, and I hate to say this, I mean, men in general, but especially a lighter shaded male, you don't usually see them in roles like this where they're allowed to shine and actually be masculine. I hate having to bring that up, but the reason why is because news articles and media pumps out the antithesis of that so much. They find it a problem. Like, it's so rare to the point where when it does show up, people are thirsty for it. People like watching heroes and be strong. I want to know that if there's a dude that I'm following or I'm depending on to protect me, I want to see that he can protect me. And seeing Paul be that person, see him be commanding and confident and assertive, ooh, instant lady boner right there. Just like seeing a woman be sexy and strong, and like Zendaya, the role that she plays, she has her own mind, she's beautiful, she's confident, she's a fighter. That's like, I mean, I'm not attracted to her, but I could see why that would be attractive to a man. Because despite all that, she's willing to do what she has to do to save her people, to stand by her man, to fight for him, to defend him, to protect him. And she even mentioned, you know, that her people, they believe that men and women are equal in their fight for freedom. And you see her handling herself pretty well. She doesn't need her man to come save her. So I don't know what the issue would be with that, but people will always find an issue specifically because the dude is being masculine or being powerful. Strange. So just everything to love, even the worms, loving the worms. And they show up so much in this. I don't know why in one of the scenes, this trailer is a giant Pokeball. It looked like a Pokeball. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw it. But anyway, off topic. Even the worms, they do a good job making them very much a staple of the movie. Because when I thought of Dune, the main reason I wanted to even see Dune, I wasn't interested in this franchise until I saw the worms. And I was like, dude, that looks amazing. Oh, they have worms and they have aliens. Ooh, I want to see this. That was the driving force behind why I wanted to see this movie in the first place, the first one. And now after having watched the movie and getting invested in the story and the characters, the worms are a great part of it, but they're not the main reason I'm here anymore. I came for the worms, I stayed for Paul and his story. So I love the movie. I loved this movie. I love this movie so much that I feel like the ticket price should have been more. I know that sounds weird because people, you know, we're not supposed to like giving our money away, but when something is this high quality and rewarding of an experience, I want to give my money to you. You make me want to pay you more money to tip you because you've done so well. I felt like going to the concession stand and saying, I don't know who's responsible for this, who gets the money, but here's just some more tips. Just here's an extra $20 because I enjoyed myself so much. I left that movie in such a good mood, feeling as though my money was well spent. And that is not something I can say all the time. I left this almost 3-hour long movie wanting to immediately go back and watch it again. That is not something I say very often. The only things I've been able to do that with is Jurassic Park, I'm sure there are others. There are others. Black Beauty was one of them. Yeah, I don't know. But this is one of those movies I want to, because I'm like, I want to see what I missed. I want to experience all of that again. I want to go back and watch certain scenes again. The villain, Paul, his mother, Drax, the Baron, Thanos. I know I'm saying their names and some of their names are not actually, because that's how I know them as the actors. But this movie is so good. I would be willing to go back in theaters and spend more money on it. Go and see it if you haven't seen it. And if the movie is out of theaters by the time you're watching this video, own it on a hard copy of something. Trust me, this is one of those things I think is going to stand the test of time. Like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, it kind of feels like it's one of those staples. And I don't know if it's going to be an exact trilogy. I have a feeling it is. But man, they make you so invested in the story. And it ended in such a way where there's a cliffhanger. But the cliffhanger is like, okay, I don't feel like I was cheated. I feel like hurry up and make the next one, but I'm also satisfied with what I got, and I will continue consuming the first two movies in preparation for the third one. I cannot say that about a lot of movies. I felt bad at the end also with Zendaya because when he hit her with the whole, and yes, if you haven't guessed by now, there's spoilers. He hit her with the whole, yeah, I'm gonna marry this woman, the empress or the princess. Zendaya's like, okay, bro, there's only so much I can take. I have been standing by you. You said you'd stay with me forever, and now you blindside me in front of everyone, embarrassing me first of all, and breaking my heart by saying that you're going to marry another woman right in front of me. The other woman knows. She knows exactly. While she's carrying the child of the sociopath. There are so many moving parts of this. I love it so much. I could sit here for 5 hours talking about this movie, combing through the whole movie and talking about it. I actually can't wait till the movie comes out so I can actually go frame by frame, scene by scene, and talk about everything. And just have like some gameplay, just a chill video, and just literally talking about this for a while. I am not Little Platoon, who is so articulate, so well thought out. He's amazing, super genius person who could put all this together coherently. I am the flapping woman who is just speaking straight from her heart how she feels about this. And it's not going to make any sense half of the time because I'm so giddy over this movie that I'm sure that a lot of what I'm saying makes no sense. As my friend had put it, my mouth is moving faster than my brain can keep up. Or my brain's moving faster than my mouth. Why does he do this tongue like that? That is so... Dude, why do you have to... What are you doing? Like... Oh, dear God. Let's move on to the other matter that I was hold on. Get my brain together. Yes, okay. White savior. Let's unpack that. When I was looking up Dune, I didn't look up anything because I didn't want to see any reviews or anything. I went straight into, I typed and I said I want the trailer so I can get some of the scenes from it and stuff to use in this video as well. And one of the things that popped up on my feed was, of course, articles about it and white savior. And I'm like, what, who's talking about this? Let's talk about that for a second. People will always try to find something, and I'm one of them. I like picking apart movies. It's amazing. But there's a difference between picking apart a movie of all of its issues and poking fun at it and trying to make it an activist issue. So in one article by Cindy Steinberg, She and Her, it is titled Dune Part 2, the White Savior sequel, manages to be even less diverse than the novel. What? I never read the novels. I'll be completely candid with that. I didn't read the novels. Maybe I'll get around to it. I don't want it to taint the movie. I feel like the movie, it's its own thing, and that's good enough. But this movie is freaking diverse, and I do know enough about Dune that there were a few ethnicity swaps in the movie, more than what was probably present in the book. I'm not sure. Fans of it claimed that there were a few characters that were swapped racially. Does it matter? No. You know why? Because the movie was good. You didn't feel like they only chose that person because... No, they obviously chose people who were good at acting, who believed in their roles. You represented them well. This was well done. This is diversity actually done well. So to hear an article or the author of the article complaining about it being less diverse feels like someone who is just looking for issues where there are none. I'm not going to read all of this, but the first paragraph of this article commences with the statement, the Harkonnen aren't the only faction that Denis Villeneuve has cast in a pale shade. The Fremen, the indigenous natives of the desert planet Arrakis, have been thoroughly whitewashed beyond recognition. Their language changed from Arabic to a fictional dialect, the word jihad distinctly absent from their dialogue. Forgive me, I'm sorry. This is a really scatterbrained video. But when I hear things like this, it instantly makes me feel like I want to take a spoon and carve my eyeballs out and stuff them in my ears so I can see if my ears are functioning well in there. And also simultaneously to hide what I've just seen. I don't know what is going on in the minds of people that pick this out of watching a movie like this, but okay, what is wrong with casting people in a pale shade? I don't know what's going on, but I thought diversity also meant that we could tell stories with people that were white as well. Like, when did diversity just become anti-white? I just don't understand. And if that's triggering to some people, I don't know what to tell you. This is a conversation that we need to have, and people probably wonder why I keep bringing stuff like this up. Here's the article. This is why. This is what is being pumped out. So I'm addressing it. It's not like I'm picking up stuff from 20 years ago. This is something that just happened. These are people that are saying this right now. It is part of the constant conversation going on right now. So it does need to be addressed. That's why I'm addressing it. And I'm gonna sound passionate or like a Karen. I don't give a fuck. This is not necessary. I don't know, maybe things have been whitewashed. I don't know how a fictional dialect equals being whitewashed, but oh well. It says all of the Islamic influences Herbert used to give the Freeman depth have been done away with, leaving behind a far less diverse group of sidekicks whose only purpose serves a plot point. First of all, if you're talking about the racially diverse thing, a huge fragment of the Fremen are dark-skinned. There's this whole mosaic of different people that hail from all over, it seems, with different ethnicities and backgrounds. They showed several scenes in Dune Part 2, especially in the first one too, but especially in Dune Part 2, when all these people are congregating, and you can see that they're all a mixture ethnically that speak the same language. How do you see something so absurdly diverse and walk away with it not being diverse? That's how you know this person ate their own shit for breakfast and they're tripping hard, because this makes no sense. Maybe he took away the Islamic influences so that people wouldn't get upset over it. I don't know. I don't see what is the point. Maybe it was so that people from Islam wouldn't get upset. I don't know. Sometimes if you're having a movie, it's going to translate a little bit differently than the book. So the visual spectacle of people, and then you have people who are of those nations that are watching this movie as well. Maybe you want to make it not seem as though the white people or the main good guy characters are targeting them or making them look bad. I can't even say that because the Fremen are the good guys. Like, it's yet the trite trope of the white savior protagonist Paul Atreides coming to the rescue of the hapless minorities remains on full display. Perhaps it's no coincidence that said savior is a product of eugenics and is only using the Freeman's desire for freedom to manipulate them into fighting a war on his behalf. I do see that being the case to some degree, but that's part of why the story exists. Look, Dune, so far, from what I could see in the movies, it is so multifaceted as a story that I don't understand how you pick up from the themes through all of the stuff that's going on around you and find the needle in the haystack that is white savior trope. Yes, obviously, he's depicted as a messianic figure. He's the Messiah, and he just happens to be, even though, isn't he Jewish? But whatever. He leads the Fremen against all these enemies that they have, that the Fremen also want to get rid of. But the narrative as it stands, the entire story has more than just him being white and saving people. There's a bunch of the political stuff going on, the religious allegories, ecological stuff, and this is more than just a hero narrative, someone coming in and being a hero. I don't call it a hero story. I'm looking at so many elements of this movie that can be picked as a theme. The power of the spoken word, the power of influence and religion, the power of visions, the power of nature and how it's able to change people or affect people, and how people will go to the ends of the earth to acquire power, not so that they can transcend and move forward, but so they can fight their enemies, and the needs for them having to do that. Sometimes they don't want to do it. Like Paul, he didn't want to do this. He didn't want to kill people, but now he is thrust into a situation where he's required to take that role, or else worse things will happen, which leads him into the very thing that he doesn't want, and trying to find ways around millions of people dying for a war you didn't want in the first place that needs to happen, or else people are going to be enslaved. Nobody looked at this. No high functioning adult looked at this and said, man, he's white. Like, nobody thought that. My first thing is, he's Paul. I didn't think when I went into the movie, oh, where's the strong female characters? I just thought, wow, those characters are badass. That's how good the movie was. It made me forget momentarily because the media will have you constantly focusing on it. I don't know why. They say it so they can be more diverse, but what you're actually doing is sowing division by causing people to focus on color, which is what you don't want them to do. The only thing I noticed right away, because it's been missing so much in media, like I said before, is the masculinity. That was something I enjoyed enjoyed, and I picked that up because I'm like, you don't see this all the time. This is great. But as for the white and black thing, it doesn't really make any sense to just pick that out from it. Now, let's just argue, plays devil advocate for a second for this person, and say that it is a white savior trope thing. So, if you go in another country with a different ethnic background and the people look different and they're writing a story, often they're going to cater to people who are the ethnic majority of that country, and they're going to put themselves as the hero. A lot of these people that would usually have an issue with this, when they write their stories or make their characters, they give themselves, their self-inserts, they give themselves superpowers over a nation of aliens or animals, and maybe you're like, oh, I'm turned into a wolf, and all these other wolves accepted me into their pack, but there's a problem happening, and now I, as a wolf who used to be human, must save them. It's up to me. I'm a special wolf. You always feel that way when you're writing your characters. So this is very hypocritical because I know if this person were to make a story, they would have a self-insert of like that. You'd kind of be doing the same thing, regardless of it not being anyone from Earth's racial demographic. You would have some other world or being that would have that. And maybe you wouldn't, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's something wrong with it. We've had plenty of movies with different colored people playing the same role. Nobody makes any fuss about that. Remember I brought up Daenerys Targaryen earlier? Nobody said anything about her. I was hard pressed to find anything about any white savior with Daenerys, given what she's gone through. Now, understandably, she had a way worse situation because she was sold into this culture. She didn't want that. She was a woman. She had to rise up from the top, but she was going around afterwards and doing the identical thing to what Paul Atreides is doing. Nobody said she was a white savior. Did they? Maybe. But I couldn't find it. Maybe it's there somewhere. But we loved her story, regardless. It's always interesting. It's always intriguing when you have someone who is not from a specific place come in so that we can vicariously live through that experience of what it would be like if we were to do it and survive in a different culture and become a hero to that culture. It doesn't mean you want to go out there and be like, I'm better than the freemen of Earth. Nobody thinks that way. I mean, no one has a problem with Invincible. Spoilers for Invincible. But no one has a problem with Invincible when Mark or Omni-Man went down and they were rescuing this planet full of bug insects who now kind of worship them as their god. No one had an issue with that. Why? Because Mark's Asian or half Asian? Come on, stop. Also, we're pretending as though the Freemen aren't getting something out of it. Obviously, Paul is getting something out of it too, which is part of the whole wheel spoke thing going on. There, like I said, again, there's moving parts, and it doesn't just have to do with him just being a hero for the sake of being a hero. Yes, he's being driven by motivation of what happened to his father and to avenge his entire family and line and house being obliterated. Can you blame him? And it's not like the Fremen are being manipulated by him, maybe by his mother. By him, he's saying, look, we did wrong. My family played a part in that, and these people over here, the Harkonnens, played a part in that. And this is your world. I want you guys to fight by me because now we have a common enemy. So let's fight together, which they were doing for the majority of the movie, to take back your planet so you can have your planet. Who gets the bigger reward out of this? Paul doesn't get the planet. He gets revenge, and that's it. Maybe if they want, he can ascend into power through them putting him there, which is what is happening. But he's doing this, and the only thing he asks for is revenge and taking down these people so that the Fremen can have their planet back and be free. Why does it matter what color he is? And because this is Dune, we don't even actually know if he's actually white in the term that white means in our real world. He could be a completely different race. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but his father doesn't look white to me. I could be wrong, but the dude doesn't look white. And he's half of that. So his father, the man who played his father, looks like he is or mixed with ethnic minority. So wouldn't that also make Paul a minority? Can we stop this? Can we actually stop this right now? It's getting old and it smells like projection. Maybe that's how you view yourself, that's a problem. You need to go and have some self-reflection as to why you're seeing white savior and everything. Maybe that's because that's the lens that you're always seeing the world through because that's how you feel. The other article says basically the same thing. But this is a much older article. It's when the first one came out. It said, maybe doing a story about a white Superman created by a eugenics program is not the film we need right now. Really? Where were you guys when Captain America, Tony Stark, Thor, and all those other superheroes were there? Where was all of this energy for them? Interesting. And here's the part that's also baffling to me, right? These same people who are complaining about white savior movies and tropes, about white individuals swooping in to rescue the minorities or troubled countries or nations, are the same ones who, in the real world, antagonize and criticize white people for not doing enough to assist those communities and save them. So which is it that you want? You get angry when white individuals do nothing to aid minorities. And then when they actually depict stories where the white individuals are assisting minorities and uniting with them, spreading a positive message to the white people IRL, despite their diversity, and finding common ground together with these other nations, you still get upset and criticize it as being a white savior narrative. It's as if, regardless of what directors or creators do or stories they make, there's always going to be anger directed at it. It makes absolutely no freaking sense. Also, why don't we have any movies portraying black people as saviors rescuing white people or individuals from other nations? The only time black people are featured in movies, like when it comes to that with the white nation or something, is when they're depicted as either fearful of white individuals, they are captured or enslaved by them, or they're engaged in conflict with them. It seems like all these people want to do is divide everyone and provoke conflict, rather than trying to effect positive change and foster unity. I don't know what's wrong with these people. They're kind of low-key racist, to be honest, but I love the movie. I think that it did a really good job portraying the story that it was trying to tell. And when you can walk away from a movie as a normal person and not see color, you've done something right. You actually managed to make the characters something worth to invest in. I was lost in this movie to the point where, aside from my bladder being super full, I did not feel the passage of time for this movie. I just was completely immersed within the experience of living in this world with Paul Atreides. And it is so anime. Oh my gosh, it is anime. I love it so much because they do all the same things. But to see it being done on a level like this in a live action type movie feels like such a rare thing, and it must be very lonely, especially with Johnny, his girlfriend, because now he loves her. He had told her, no matter what happens, I just know that I will love you until I stop breathing. And then he tells her in front of everyone he's gonna marry someone else. And you know, Johnny's not the kind of person that's gonna want to be sleeping with him on the side. She was his first everything. And he is making a decision politically towards the greater good, which trumps his little fling or his own romantic personal desires with his girlfriend, which makes it a very lonely road for him to take. And it's painful, hurting the person that you love. Now, remember, he's Doctor Strange also. Remember Doctor Strange? He can see all of these different futures, and he let us know, foreshadowing the scenes before, leading up to what happened in the climax of the film, that there's only one path that is clear. So everything that he is doing is required for that path of success and peace and paradise on Arrakis to come forward. And to take on that kind of responsibility to forego his own personal happiness, that is impressive. That is a very huge cross to bear. And I felt for him, and I felt for Johnny. And you could see the struggle. The film ends with her angry and feeling betrayed. You could tell that she was also struggling to leave him because she loves him. But at the same time, she has standards, and she's like, okay, this religious thing is getting out of hand. But then part of her believes it because you see all these coincidences happening religiously that are now not coincidences because they're all happening back to back to back, exactly the way he said they would happen. It's not like religions today where they're like, it's confirmation bias. Now it's like, okay, there's something more to this than we don't know. It feels kind of like Avatar as well. People are in touch with nature and the planet. Clearly, these worms have some kind of magic juice in them, which is exactly what happened in the Way of Water Avatar with the whale things and Awa. So they have a little bit of all of that going on. I don't even know, because it kind of feels now, looking at this movie, if this is how the story actually goes, that Avatar probably took inspiration from this as well. Johnny knows this, and she is fighting it because of what it means. There's just so much to unpack here. The movie was badass. Also, when he got reunited with Thanos, I don't know his actual name. I know the actor's name, Josh Brolin, but I don't know the person's name in the movie. I know that that's his mentor, his trainer, and he's telling Paul that you should take advantage of this power that you have. But Paul doesn't even want the power. But then he leans into it, realizing that this is the only way for everyone to walk away happy. But then he also has to carry the burden of knowing that no matter what he does, The way forward, the only way that works where peace is achieved is where there are millions of deaths. And we see why that's probably going to be the case at the end of the movie Dune Part 2. Man, I can't wait to see it again. It was such an excellent movie. And I think once we go past race and sexism and let's just tell a story. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what color they are. It's diverse as fuck. You don't need anything else. There's so many, the diverse cultures, the diverse people. This movie gave you everything that you wanted and you're still saying it's not diverse or diverse enough. Take a flying leap, please. What did you guys think about this movie? I will revisit it at some point because I could sit here talking forever about it, but I'm not going to do that because the video will be way too long and I'm going to start talking in circles. Beautiful movie. Well done. I'm so glad I saw it. It is money well spent. Grateful that I saw it in theaters.